Guys, leave me a like for my horribly failed attempt at lighting a candle on this windy day. I had to pick what just turned out to be like the windiest day we've had in a long time to light a candle outside. Now we can actually enjoy this lovely cupcake that I bought. It's a little Halloween cupcake. We're gonna eat this and talk about my BMW because I have now owned this car for 1 year. So I thought I would do something nice for the car and get it a little cupcake. I know I can't enjoy the cupcake, but I can enjoy the cupcake. That is a tasty cupcake. So now that I've ingested 300 unnecessary calories from that cupcake, let's talk about my BMW M2. Basically, I want to just do a video talking about what my last year has been like with this car. So I had an M2 40i for 2 years. Then I bought a BMW M2, totaled that one after 1 month of ownership. And then after a few months of not having an M2, I bought another M2, this one right here. And this M2 I've now had for 1 year. I want to give my kind of thoughts on, again, what has this ownership experience been like having this car, because there are a couple things to unpack here. But firstly, so I'd like to do a quick moment of silence for my poor M2 that got totaled. And truth be told, really I want to play a specific song in the background for it, but due to copyright I probably won't be able to. So if you're watching this on a PC or something, or if you have a friend nearby, what I would like you to do is go to YouTube or Spotify and look up In the Arms of an Angel. That sad song that plays every time there's a commercial for the ASPCA or whatever with the sad animals. You guys know which song, you know which commercials. That is the song that I would like playing in the background. So just imagine that it's playing, or if you have another browser, play that song for our moment of silence. So back to this M2. Now this car I bought as my first manual. So essentially, what has my time been like for the past year with a manual transmission? My first manual transmission. I will say it's been really fun. I've really enjoyed the manual, kind of building it up from scratch, because I knew how to drive it. It's just I've never owned a manual car. So it took me a little while to get used to it. But once you get used to it, really fun. Really love this transmission. I do also love the DCT in this car. The DCT transmission is phenomenal. Get the manual if you want that kind of engagement enthusiast feel, but get the DCT if you want that like sports car, like high end, like just ripping it feeling. You know, they're two very different feelings. Depending which one you want, pick your transmission. They're both phenomenal, and I've absolutely loved my time with it. And the car as a whole, it has been a bit expensive to maintain. I'm one of those people that when I buy a car, I do like all the main maintenance like right up front. I bought this right before it hit 60,000 miles, so it was due for all kinds of stuff. New spark plugs, all its fluids, all that stuff. Maintenance was naturally very expensive for the first year of this car. And depending on what I do going forward, if I keep this car or sell it or whatever the case is, it's probably going to be a lot cheaper. Maintenance-wise, it has kind of kicked my ass a little bit. Insurance kind of sucks because I have the other car in my record still, which isn't ideal, but it is what it is. I wrecked a car, so what are you going to do? And from a general perspective, like, this car has been so much fun. Like, I love the M2. Like, I compare this car to my old M2 40i all the time because ultimately it is a very similar car. They have different engines, different chassis, but it is similar, so I always compare them. But, I mean, this car is just so much more special. Like, the sound this car makes is just phenomenal. It looks so good, especially in the Long Beach blue. It's just such a good car to look at. They both hug the road really well. That one's an all-wheel drive that I owned. This one's a rear-wheel drive. And they both hug the road really well, and they're both extremely fun to drive. But the M240i always felt to me like a luxury car, whereas this feels more like a sports car. And it really fits that bill. Like, the power is enough for the road. You could argue it could use a bit more power if you really want to go down that route, but ultimately I think it has enough power for what the car is. The chassis feels really nice going into turns, and I always go out of my way to find these like windy back roads, and I love ripping it down those back roads. It is just so much fun. There's really not much else I could say as far as like the fun aspect of this car. It's just really fun. I love this car. Now, another thing to point out with this car has been the conversations that this car starts. Like, when they say, like, you can buy, like, a really, really nice, like, high-performance sports car, like a Ferrari, whatever, and it's going to open a lot of doors for you in terms of, like, conversations and the people you meet, I can completely understand that, because I've met some cool people through this car. Like, one guy right next to the coffee shop I go to all the time, he's a big car guy. He has a couple project cars he's working on, like some good project cars. And big watch guy as I am, owns a couple Rolexes, some Omegas, some really cool stuff. 2-doors, beautiful watches. And we have a lot of those similarities. And you don't really connect with these people that much when you're driving something like my daily driver, my Subaru Impreza. Whereas this thing you kind of do. So I can imagine, like, if I had a Ferrari or an Aston Martin or something like that, that could open a lot of cool doors to meet very cool people. So from that perspective, this has been very cool. Like, even just as I was making this video, when I was trying to get the stupid candle to light, I had a guy pull up. He had this older Volvo, really beautiful, like mint condition. We talked about the M2 for a little bit, and even just small interactions like that, I didn't really get that with the M240i, and I do with the M2. That has been really cool. That has been a really awesome point of owning this car. Having owned this thing for 1 year, do I feel any different about the car now compared to when I first bought it? Like, when I first bought it, like, I was all about this thing. I thought it was the coolest thing, and I still feel that way. There is a thought that I have, and that is to sell my BMW. It's not a thought that I take lightly, but there are a lot of things that I factored in. So kind of looking into the future of this car, I do still enjoy it. I enjoy driving and I enjoy everything about it, but you know, I'm a finance guy as well. I love finance, I love money, I love everything about money and kind of how it works. And when you're a finance person, one of the things you do is you look through everything with a lens of opportunity cost. And the amount of money that I put into this car, whether it's, you know, the actual purchase of it, the payments on it, insurance, maintenance, all these things, when you factor in the opportunity cost of not having that same money invested in, you know, the stock market or something else, it adds up. And from a finance perspective, it becomes hard to justify owning this car. That's the tricky part, isn't it? Because as car people, it's very easy for us to justify spending more on a car than we should. And it's not to say I can't afford this car, because I very much can. It's just, it becomes harder over time to justify the amount of money that goes into it. And maybe that's something that'll ease inside me a little bit more now that all the expensive stuff is kind of out of the way. The insurance is kind of slowly going to start settling down. My maintenance is really not going to be all that much because now all the big stuff is done. I don't know. It's a tough decision, because the next car I've decided 100% is going, and I'm going to make a whole video on this at a future point, but I've decided my next car is going to be an Aston Martin V8 Vantage. Like the early generations, like the 2008, 2009. So that is most likely the route I'm going to go. I am debating what the future of this car is going to be. But again, like I said, that's for another video. As far as, again, my time with this car, it's been phenomenal. And that's pretty much all what I'm going to leave this video on, is the time with this car has been incredible. I've loved this car very much. It has exceeded my expectations for what I wanted out of this car. So I'm probably going to wrap this video up with that. So if you enjoyed this video, leave it a like, subscribe if you want to see more videos from me, and that's going to be it for this one, guys. So thank you so much for watching. Until next time.